and welcome back to another episode of the Inside Lines podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson.
And I am Tia Avril.
Coming up a bit later in the show, we'll be chatting with Alyssa McKenzie. She's an events and special programs manager and wife of NFL free agent Kahlil McKenzie. We'll also be getting into our hot take this week, where we will be discussing girl code versus guy code. But first, Tia, what's going on?
Well, if I'm being honest, I just watched my kid walk past and he has on a hoodie I just put in the washer, meaning it's still dirty. And he's getting ready for school.
And that's his favorite hoodie, Mom. That is his favorite hoodie. I remember those days like yesterday.
I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, my
Just walk right past the window.
You're like, wait, I know I grabbed that from your room and put it in the wash. And here you are. You like, nope, I'm wearing this every day.
But full transparency, guys, we are recording early because life is lifing and our schedules are completely out of control, okay? With lots of travel and things like that. So
it's so funny because I headed to Seattle and Tia left and went to Mexico, y'all. So when I talk about our schedules are crazy, when Tia talks about like life is lifing, we are crossing paths. I went from all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, to the Northwest, I guess I should say. And then Tia left me and went to Cabo. I'm not mad at you, though.
Girl, all the way south. Not even Cabo. I'm going to Cozumel, Mexico for a wedding.
Okay.
And let's be clear, I did not know where Cozumel was until I purchased my flight and realized that I got to fly 11 hours to get here, okay?
Is it 11? It's 11? Bless your heart.
There's
you a rider right there.
I am. It's my best friend from high school, the last of the Mohicans, so I can't miss it. So, but anyhow, y'all, we were recording early, so we ain't got a whole lot to give y'all.
Yeah.
In terms of what's going on.
So guess what, y'all? Yeah, well, you know what we gonna do, Tia? We gonna get into this week's hot take. Y'all, it is time for this week's hot take. Tia, what we got?
Okay, so this week in hot takes, we are discussing girl code or lack thereof, and guy code, which I don't know if that exists either. Just a little degree. This, of course, is coming off the backs of all the drama that has been on social media involving Tim Anderson. So, for those of you who aren't familiar, but Tim Anderson is an MLB player. He is married to Bree Anderson, and he cheated on her. It went viral on social media last year when the girl came out and said she was pregnant and all these things, whatever the case may be. We are not in the Anderson household, so I don't know if they reconcile, not reconcile, whatever the case may be, but you can clearly tell that they are actively working on their relationship. And after Bree posted a picture of her family, the mother of Tim's child just went bananas on social media. Posted pictures of him with him with the baby, them taking private planes and things of that nature. And this sparked a conversation with Atoya and I, just in general, about like what is going on with girl code in the respect of marriage from outsiders, but of course, the person you made the commitment with, but just like what is going on, and why are you so happy to flaunt that you are messing with a married man? I don't know. So Toya, share some of your thoughts on this entire situation.
Well, I just want to start by saying I didn't know the magnitude of all of this until just recently. But I have met Bria, and she is a kind, amazing human. And my heart broke for her because I am married as well. And I, married to my husband, 3 kids. And I couldn't imagine, the turmoil that she's feeling for many reasons. I think if you go back and you back up, let's go back in the day. If there is a side chick was the side chick, right? She stayed in her rightfully place as a side chick. There was no social media. There was no running out to the world telling them all your business. And for her, she has to go through it publicly in front of the world. And my heart breaks for her because it's hard enough to deal with it within your marriage, but now you have the world with a magnifying glass looking at every single thing that you do, that he's done, that she's done. So I just wanted to start there. Secondly, guy code versus girl code. So T and I, we talked about this a little bit. You know, there's this guy code that guys live by. There's just certain things guys don't do. Or if they see their guy doing it, they turn and look the other way. Or whatever the case is, guys, they stick together a lot more than girls. Now, I say that to say, it doesn't matter if Tim told her he was in the relationship, but he didn't want to be in the relationship, or he's working on his marriage, or he's living, whatever the case was, he is still married. And I feel like as women, we don't follow the girl code of respecting the vows of marriage. Now, I get it. You the side chick, or you the girl on the side that wants to be married, or you want somebody in your life and you want this for yourself one day. But you'll never be successful trying to take somebody else's man and break up their family and ruin their family to then build one of your own. It just don't work like that. And it is so disrespectful to think that you're going to get something that someone else already had. You think you're going to get it and walk away in bliss with somebody else, and you don't think that there's not going to be problems there. Now, one more thing, and I'm gonna let you go, Tia. Thirdly, there was a comment made where she said, "I am not the side chick. He's with me here. He's with me there. Look at this picture. Look at that picture." You are still the side chick, because no matter what you say or how you try to spin it in your head, he is still married. Period. Period. And that's the part of girl code that I feel like women need to get in their head. It's not going to happen. And it's funny when you scroll through and you look at what people say, what they say is, sis, but he's still married. Sis, but he's still married. But he's still married. And I think women, they make up something in their own head. But anyways, back to the girl code, guy code, Tia. Tell me what you think about girl code versus guy code.
Well, honestly, I don't think there's a code. I don't think there's a girl code or a guy
shots
code.
fired.
I don't. And I think because in general, when people desire what you have, they are going to go after it. It does not matter if it's a male, and it doesn't matter if it's a female. What is frustrating is through all of this drama, people have been attacking, of course, the side chick. They have also been attacking Bria. Well, really, she's the innocent one in this entire situation. Right. But nobody has said anything about Tim. Nobody has drug him through the mud. Not that he should, but he hasn't lost any endorsements. Like nobody's talking about him in the sense of like, dude, like what the F are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting because, and I'm going to see if I can pull it so we can post it on our social. But there was a TikTok going around of a clip from a conversation from the show Tonight's Conversation, I think. I'll get the correct title and drop it in the show notes. But there was a guy on the stage and he was saying, of course, I like you more than I like my wife in this moment, because I get to see you when I want to see you. I get to leave when I want to leave. You ain't pressing me about coming or going. You ain't holding me to any responsibilities. Like, you let me do whatever I want to do. So, of course, in the moment, I like you more than my wife. But guess what? I ain't leaving my wife. And like, I just continue to just like think about that when I saw like all this stuff with Tim Anderson and this woman, because I'm just like, you are really on here boasting and angry because she posted this family picture, a family picture that you don't have. Like, y'all have a few snaps together. Like, you don't have it. You're posting this picture. You are angry at her for her situation. But the truth of the matter is that's just what you desire. Like, you want him to choose you and he hasn't. And that
And
is
he
what you
won't.
are upset about, right? And it's not a male or female. I mean, it's not just a woman thing. Like, it's men in general. Like, when things are happening for people, it could be career, it can be financial, it could be relationship, it can be kids and success of someone's child. Like, people can get envious and jealous and want it so bad that they are okay playing second fiddle. So I just wish that we had more confidence and more assurance and understood how much we are worth and how much we deserve. And I'm saying this because, women, I'm talking to women. I ain't talking to the men right now. But I just wish we had a better understanding of what we are worthy of and what we deserve. Because if you knew it truly, you wouldn't be okay playing second fiddle to anybody. Not a single soul.
And you wouldn't buy into the lies that you tell yourself, or that he's telling you, that you want to make yourself believe to be okay with the situation. And that's the part that's very, very sad, right? You want this, to your point, Tia, they want this so bad that they know that this guy's lying to them, but they want to believe it so that they can then have what his wife has with him and his family. And
I'm gonna take it a step deeper, because her friend is in the limelight, and her friend has money. Her the side chick's best friend has money, is in the limelight, and all the things. So I'm sure she's getting hit from all sides, just in terms of like the jealousy and the envy of like, oh, okay, like I got it too. I like, you know what I mean, feeling less than and things of that nature.
That.
But
okay, I didn't know that. This a lot of this. I guess I've been under a rock, but I when I saw it, I was devastated, and I was just trying to figure out like what has gone wrong as women. And people gonna be like, "Girl, this been happening." We know that. We know that this isn't the first time that people. We know they happened back in the day when we was young and when our parents were younger, so on and so forth. But the boldness and the ugliness that these women spew towards these married women with their families is so disrespectful, and it needs to stop. It really does.
I'm with you.
All right, y'all. Enough about that hot take. Y'all tell us what y'all think. Tia, where they need to hit us up?
They need to leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/insidelines, and really go to Instagram, y'all, because I'm gonna share that clip from tonight's conversation, and I want to know what y'all think. So leave us a voicemail or a DM.
All right. Yeah, DM us. Hit us up in our DMs. We do like that. All right, coming up next, our conversation with Alyssa McKenzie. On the show today, we have a dynamic professional with a diverse background in sports and entrepreneurship. She is the proud owner of Glamourlyss Design. She is a mother as well as wife to 6-year NFL veteran Kahlil McKenzie. And she is currently an events and special programs manager. Please welcome to the show, Alyssa McKenzie. How are you?
Hi, guys. Good. How are you?
We are doing well. Yes, thank you for coming on. There's so much to talk about. It's funny because just like listening or reading over everything that you do, you are a busybody, and I can understand that life because I'm also a busybody. But it has to come from somewhere. So let's back it up a little bit and talk about like where you were raised, where you come from, and go from there.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Southern California, from Corona, California. It's considered like the Inland Empire. I was born and raised there. And then I actually, I come from a family of 6. I have an older brother, 2 younger sisters, and a younger brother. We're all over the place. The age gaps, my brother's older than me, and then my youngest brother was born in 2005. We kind of we span a nice range. But like me and the girls in our family, like me and my two sisters, like we were the absolute closest. But I, out of all of us, have left. I actually went and did my undergrad at the University of Connecticut. I played softball there. Did my 4 years there.
Congrats to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't just skirt by that. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yes. So I grew up playing my entire life and, realized I wanted to go and play, in the collegiate level. So I did. And, when people are like, why did you go to Connecticut? Like, what? You literally went from California to Connecticut, like coast to coast. And honestly, like, I don't, regret it at all. I think it was the best thing for me because like I look back and had I not left, I don't think I'd be like in the position or like situation that I'm in today. And so
I say that all the time. Like there's a huge difference in the people that stay local. Not to say to each his own, like you do what works for you.
Correct.
But I think like leaving home and like it forces you to grow up in a different way because you really don't have anybody around to lean on but you to figure out life.
Yep. And like I ended up rooming when I went to college. I ended up rooming with one of my teammates who like played travel ball with me. So like that was nice because like when I'm going across the country, I had somebody who I played travel ball with. So we were familiar with everything and like kind of we had somebody to lean on. It wasn't just kind of you're going into like not knowing anybody. And that I think provided that experience like that freshman year. And then as we grew up, we ended up not living together. I think after our freshman year, but we like, you build relationships with other people and you find other roommates. But so I did that for 4 years, graduated with my undergrad in communications with a minor, which I never thought I'd be a business owner, but like a minor in entrepreneurship. So going into my junior to senior year, I needed to get an internship for my undergrad. And so I actually went to USA Softball. At the time, my best friend was working there. So I got that internship and I spent the whole summer in Oklahoma City. And that was so much fun. But especially going back to, USA Softball, where the Women's College World Series, that's like the biggest stage you can be on as a softball player. So for me, I was like, what? Like, I didn't know like this much goes on behind sport or, like just the little details, like putting deodorant in the lockers or putting bananas and oranges, like the smallest stuff. So I realized like, I want to do this. Like, I want to go back to school and like further my education and go into sports management because like communications is just so broad. So with that, after I finished that internship, I actually went back to finish my senior year and I took some just basic minor classes for sports management. And I realized, okay, like, well, I want to go get my master's. So I was like I'm super late to applying at this point, but I apply, do everything, what's the research I need to do to get into a sports management program. Right. And I vividly remember, like, I come back, I think we were at an away game, and I come back into my locker, and I got accepted into the University of Tennessee. And I was like, what? I'm going to grad school? Like, how am I going to do this? All those things. So I ended up pulling out loans. I went home after I graduated, went home for like 2 months, figured out financially how I'm going to do it. I decided to pull out loans. So I pulled out loans to get me through grad school, and I went, just drove across the country. Me and my sister took our little like sedan and drove from California to Tennessee. And we move into Knoxville. And
okay, so how did you like Knoxville? Because I used to live in Knoxville.
Oh, really? Oh, so I loved it. Mainly because it's so different where I did my undergrad. And I think that's why. Fair. Because
East
for me,
to west to Tennessee is completely different.
So different. And for me, my undergrad career, my experience, like Connecticut, if you've ever been to stores, I mean, go ahead, go watch some basketball. But it's literally, there's just nothing. Like there wasn't anything in comparison to Tennessee that I felt like, I don't know, made that experience. Like, again, I loved college. I loved the snow. That's why I moved there. I moved for like a whole different experience from sunny, California. When I actually visited Connecticut, they just had a snowstorm. And I was like,
okay.
This is beautiful. Like this is, I go to Big Bear to get snow, but like this is, this is so different. I had, all seasons, but in comparison to Tennessee, I mean, it's a town, it's a community. Like where I lived about 15 minutes away from campus, but I lived next to a high school. Yeah. And I lived next to a mall. I lived next to a Kroger, or was it is it Kroger?
Yeah.
I think.
Kroger.
Yeah.
Kroger.
You know, like
I hated Tennessee. I hated Knoxville. I did. But I understand what she's saying, because I said if I went to school at UT, then I would have loved the experience, because it is a straight college town. But if you are there for work and you're not really familiar with the students at the school, grad students or anything, then it was miserable. It was like I spent all my time in Nashville.
See, and what's funny is I tell, like, I met my husband there, but I say to, like, my best friend, I wouldn't have made it out alive if I did my undergrad here. There would have been no way.
They party hard.
And it was just such a different experience. Like, I'm glad I did the undergrad. So, like, when I got there, I was like, okay, I'm here for business, right? So I did my, went and did my master's there, and I did an accelerated program in the sense that since I was on loans and I was paying for everything, I was like, I want to get in and out. So I did my master's in a year and a half. Knocked it out, and I actually, it saved me, especially because I was like, my loans were paying for my house, like my food, everything. So I was like, the more time I spend here, the more like money I'm accruing. So I did that, and, did it in a year and a half. I worked in the event management department and actually went back. So my first job out of grad school was actually back at USA Softball. And I worked there in their event management department, and, was there for a little bit.
Full circle. That is full circle, because that's where you first got the itch. Like, ooh, I like this behind the scenes. So
I like it. And that's what was like super surreal to me when I did get that first job out, was like, I'm back at where I fell in love with it. And and because at Tennessee, when I worked in event management, softball was like my sport. So that's the sport like that I oversaw. So then to like go back and then, okay, hey, like I'm here going to be working at like the biggest stage, like for my job was really, really cool. So that's kind of like that journey into, events and kind of what I do now.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to back it up a little. Yeah. We got to talk about, you talked about falling in love with your job, but let's talk about this love at first sight, or whatever the story is. We know men have different stories than women, but we want to hear your version.
I'm so mean is what I am, but so it's so funny because like I'll admit it because it's just so funny to look back on. But so me and my husband actually met. So my husband Kahlil comes from a football family. My father-in-law is Reggie McKenzie, who was with the Green Bay Packers for 16 years, was the GM for the Raiders for. Oh wow. And then was the GM for the Raiders for about 6, and I was senior exec over in Miami. So at the time when I was actually at Tennessee, his dad was working for the Raiders, and his family, Kahlil's family, mind you, I work in event management. So like I'm familiar with these athletes, but like me and Kahlil never crossed paths. And so at the time when it was draft time, Kahlil's family does when his dad was able to make those, decisions, they did where they all picked who their dad's number 1 or overall pick was going to be in the draft that year. And so at the time, my best friend, my son's godmom, was dating somebody, and that guy was actually my husband's pick. So when he ended up getting drafted is kind of how me and Kahlil connected, because he knew that person was my best friend and my best friend's boyfriend at the time. So that's how we got connected. And so we were and this is in April.
So he had his eye on you the whole time, like before. You didn't cross. We didn't cross, but we just knew each other because of that mutual pick. Got it. And he knew that I was, I think through social media, Snapchat at the time. I don't use Snapchat, but it was Snapchat at the time. So we then just get in contact, and he was like, yeah, he was he told me the backstory and how they pick and all that stuff. So we ended up becoming friends, and just friends. I did not find my husband attractive. He was not my typical person, and it's so bad.
He is okay. So and it's so bad because it's like that's what it was, and so we just became really good friends. I ended up getting a dog when I was in college or grad school, and he would watch my dog every now and then, like away as we would hang out. And my best friend would be like, Alyssa, are you sure? Like, you don't like him? Like, there's no way you guys are just friends. And I'm like, he is just my friend. Like, no. And we just started hanging out, and we continue to hang out. Like, he is such a people person. Like, he just comes from a very, very, like, a great, 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 great family. Loves people, like, just always wants to please people. Like, we host people every weekend at our house. Like, just loves to be around people. And we just started hanging out more. And at the time, my sister had a friend who worked at Main Event, and you would get like the free credit to go and play. So I was like, do you want to come? Like, we're just going to go to Main Event. And from then on, here we are.
Yeah, became
going on. We'll be married 3 years this month.
When did it change?
nice.
Like, when did it shift to you? Like,
Yeah.
like, what was it?
I think just like the more that we hung out, and just because like it's just so funny because I just like laugh. I think just like the more we hung out, and like me realizing, like, for me, right, that like picture perfect guy didn't need to be that picture perfect guy to make me happy. And so the more we hung out, and the more like I realized, like, wow, like his intentions are pure, like his soul is pure. You know, he grew up in a very, very, you know, well-rounded home. We met at the right time also. Like, I will say that, because there was a time where we could have met sooner and we didn't. And like, thankfully we didn't, because had I met him at that time, which would have been at a party for his birthday that he threw, I don't think I like seeing him in another type of environment. I don't think I would have liked him.
Yeah.
Or like been like, you know? So I think just being around him more, like having that undivided time. And for me, right, I'm in grad school now. Like I'm over here looking for purpose. I'm not just dating to date. Like I had those relationships, and okay, wait, I think I found that. And just him overall as a person, and realizing, okay, maybe this is what I'm looking for. Like, this is, but I may not have like seen or realized, like, because I was so fixated on like what was supposed
A certain look or certain, yeah.
Okay, so question. So when you graduated, you said you went to work in Oklahoma again. Was he still in school, or had he been drafted yet?
So at the time, my last semester, semester of the 2017, that fall of 2017, I graduated in December. And he actually had just forewent his senior season, and we were in like a coaching change at the university. So he decided, I think it's best for me to forego. So we forewent our senior year. So he was in training for the draft. I actually stayed in Tennessee until about March or April, like right before the draft happened, because I hadn't gotten my job like exactly yet. So I actually moved to Oklahoma City, and then a month after is actually when he got drafted. And it worked out where he actually got drafted to Kansas City, and I was able to just to make that drive. And thank God for that, because I truly think, you know, that saved our relationship in that transition of him being the youngest on the team. He was only 21 years old when he got drafted. He had this money that he, you know, just what comes with then that NFL.
You're speaking to the choir, because it's literally so similar to my story, because I'm older than Nate. When his last year, he went his senior year as well. I was I had finished my master's, and I was working as well. So like when I'm listening to you say this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like deja vu. And to your point, like, us having like our own separate space, you knowing who you are, him trying to figure it out, it does help balance it, and, you know, help them kind of catch up to where they need to be. And I say that to say, what for you was the maturing factor? Because the guys are presented everything, right? Like when they get drafted, it's like, boom, here you are, everything at once. And they're like, God, I don't know what to do. And then you're trying to like, still work on this relationship and make sure. What saved your relationship in that time?
Ooh, I get the chills. I think me being the person at the time making that effort to be like, I'm coming up every weekend. And it wasn't on like I'm crazy, but it was no. You can't come to me, so I'm going to come to you. And we were actually kind of put in a situation where when my husband got drafted, he was a D lineman in college. And he actually got drafted as an O lineman. So for him, it was a complete position change. Yeah. So he was actually, we made roster our first year. But unfortunately, we were inactive all year. So he never got to dress. So he was just on the sidelines. He traveled, but he never got to step on the field. So for me, I was like, if you're going to be there or you're going to have to go to a game, I only went to like the home games because it was just a quick, like 5-hour drive up, to Kansas City. I was like, I'm going to be there. Like, regardless, whatever the situation, like, I'm going to be there. So I think really, truly is just me making that effort. Because then after that year ended, he ended up then coming to me. So it was just truly like, just sacrificing, either my weekends. And I was at a point where I'm coming out of grad school. It's my first job. I didn't make anything financially that could put me, over or put me in a better situation. And 6 months post-graduation, right, my loans start coming out. So I actually ended up then walking away from sport for a little while and went to corporate America and worked at AT&T in a management position because it paid well. Not because I wanted to do it. It's because it paid well. Yeah. And from at the time, my husband's getting a signing bonus or getting game checks, and this is a lot of money. And he would spend it, and I'd be like, dang, I did Postmates. I don't think I've ever said that. But I worked Postmates for a little while because like I would just needed to be able to make ends meet and just to be able to like break even. And so, him seeing that, and then it got to a point where he was like, hey, like, I want you to actually come up and move with me. And, I think kind of going through that like trial for me made him also realize like, okay, it's not all sweet on my end either. So I think of making that effort and just being committed to like truly seeing it through, because it was not easy. I look back and I'm like, if I didn't do that, I don't think we'd be together.
That's love, girl. You do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so you said he asked you to move in. How did your family and his family receive that type of situation?
Yeah, so I come from a broken home. So for me, it was I'm making decisions on my own. I didn't have a relationship with my mom. I was barely building back my relationship with my dad because my parents divorced when I was super young. But his parents, was a lot harder. My husband, was born and raised in a very Christian household. So for me to move in pre-marriage was frowned upon. So that was hard, but it was hard for me because I was like, dang, am I going to still feel welcomed? Are they going to look down upon me or look down upon our relationship? And, he took it upon himself to be like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want for me. So he did. At the time, I think their parents thought I was sleeping in a different room, which I had all my stuff in a guest room. But that was my room if things like were bad.
If they were coming in town, then you go in another room.
That's my room. It's pretty. It looks just like my room when I moved out of Oklahoma. But I think, obviously it worked out. Here we are. Yeah. But at first it was rough because for me, I was like, I don't want to not feel accepted. I don't want to feel like I'm making you go against what your family believes in or what, what's supposed to happen. Because it's true, right? Like, but it was perfect for us because of everything we've experienced from actually when I moved in and then on, because, we've been cut. We live separately again, like there are so many other things that unfolded after that. That just being there for those 2-3 months before he had to get up and move again, was what we needed to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your NFL journey, because I know you talked about his first year being inactive, right? Which I don't think we've even ever discussed that before, Atoya. Where they make the 52-man roster, but that still doesn't mean they dress for the week, and really what that does to their self-esteem and just their confidence in the space.
Yep.
But you guys have had a different path in general, so can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So, yep, absolutely. Everybody's journey is different, and I'm thankful that I have this opportunity to speak on it, because I don't think we've spoken on it outside of lightly of social media, or my husband's really wanted to speak on it, because I just think he just kind of, until he makes it, I think is really, really when he wants to be able to tell that story. So sorry, honey. But we were, so like I said, we were drafted. He was a nose tackle, was a D-line all his career in college, and he was drafted as an O-lineman. So we got drafted to the Chiefs, but we're inactive. So we got, we didn't get a call. We made the roster. And what that meant for him was he does everything the same, right? But he just doesn't dress on game days, because there's about 5, I think, to 7 people who don't dress. So he was one of them. So our entire rookie season, we were active roster, but inactive on game days. And then, that was it. That was that year. We then went back. So going into our second year, we did training camp. We did preseason. We actually ended up getting cut. And then we were a free agent for, those 2-3 time windows right before they're making rosters and when you can make your practice squad. And we ended up signing with the Seahawks practice squad. So our second year, we were on practice squad the entire year. He moves, I stay in Kansas City. So
this is 19, so this is right before COVID?
COVID, okay. Yep. So financially, drastic difference. And so now we're now living apart. So he goes and is on practice squad the entire year. So we go through that season. So now you're at this, 2020, right before COVID hits. But this is at the time when the XFL was coming about, and we worked a situation out with the Seahawks where we would go. We're now going into year 3. We have no film, not one besides preseason. And we worked a situation out with them where we could go do the XFL season, and we would be welcome back on the team come like OTAs and training camp. So we go. He plays for the LA Wildcats. So I'm now in Kansas City still, and he's now in LA. We go, and first game he gets injured. High ankle sprain. He's out for the entire season. Well, could have came back from it, but COVID hits. So we come back to Kansas City, and we're actually in a situation where I work now, the location was coming about, and they had asked us to be a part of the company and just see the future here, right? So I'm able to leave my job. So we actually moved down to Texas, and this is where we reside. This is where home is for us. It allows, my husband to have somewhere to train during the off seasons or any in between. And I have just something
So how did you find out about the facility?
Yep. So actually where my husband did his pre-draft training is so Sports Academy is where my husband did his pre-draft training back in Thousand Oaks, California. And then we actually Sports Academy came about and found a location here in Frisco.
Yeah.
So here at the Star.
That's where they train for the combine and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's how that situation. So we actually made the move then here. And we then end up getting cut from the Seahawks because you had to go from 90-man rosters to 80 because of COVID. So we're now a free agent. My husband decides, I'm over the O-line. I want to move back to D-line. So we end up having a few workouts, and we end up getting picked up by the Bengals on D-line. Practice squad, but with COVID, COVID reserve and all of that stuff. So we were actually able to get some games in during that year. I was pregnant, so I didn't travel at all. So I stayed home that entire year. So he got his, he was able to get that, accredited season. Okay. So then we go through, that's the end of that year. We go through training camp again, and we get cut.
Still with the Bengals?
we end up getting picked up now by the Baltimore Ravens. And so now this is going into year 4. We get picked up by the Baltimore Ravens, and we were on P squad, but as a D-line. So P squad, D-line, we got brought up, we did everything, but we are 1 game short of getting like that accredited, like accrued season. And I mean, we would have been more expensive if we did play that last game, because we would have been like the difference between restricted free agency and unrestricted, all of that jazz. So then we find out in the off season what are considered your exit interviews, and what they have plans for you in that next year, that they want us to move back to O-line.
Let's talk about the mental and the emotional toll that all of this takes on the family.
Yes. So mentally, I think for my husband, after this past year, because to go back on that really quick, he was on practice squad the entire year. We're going into year 6 now. So he's like, what do I have to do to I'm at my wit's end. I am, if I'm going to say I've done this going on 6 years, I need to say I did it.
Yeah.
We actually ended up doing the XFL this past season. And he ended up actually in practice getting turf toe and playing on it. And come week 3, we ended up getting imaging done, and he tore the MCL in his toe. So we ended up having to get surgery because we're on a ticking time crunch now because of recovery. That puts us in, we want to be able to still say we can be on a team come training camp.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that I said going into this was I'm a 99.9% in on this XFL thing, because 0.1% of me will be like, I'll be mad, or, it worked out perfectly because it was here in Dallas. So he had to commute. And at one point, he was like, for the first time in my career, I was able to come home after work to my family. And that to him was everything. Coming home, I'm home from work, the baby's home, he can put the baby down, where, he would come home to an empty apartment. So I think kind of going into this, like mentally, it's draining because you're sacrificing so much, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean, it's a way that these athletes or, these men can get paid, right? And put their family at an advantage. However, on the other side of it, when you're making practice squad money, it's a blessing. Don't get me wrong. It's a blessing, but it has not been able to put us in a financial situation where we can get ahead of ourselves, because 7 months out of the year, we're paying double everything, right? He has those expenses there, but we also have a house and responsibilities and things we have to take care of here. So for me, like, I have to work. I want to work. I do. I love what I do, and I love my passion. I'm nowhere near, I feel like I can walk away from, what I do. But financially, we need my income. Right now, we are currently unemployed because he is, as a free agent, he's doing, he's doing recovery, physical, all of that stuff. So, I mean, I don't nearly make enough to be able to cover, but we still financially need that. So it's a lot. I mean, when he'd be gone, I'd go to work. I'd do what I have to do during the day, the baby, hang out, put him down. But once he's down, I'm in this office for hours upon hours at night just to pass time by. I don't have hobbies. I mean, I love my friends and all that stuff, but there's nothing that like I'd rather do outside of my home. I love the comfort of my own home. I love being at peace. Like my home is my safe haven. And in here, honestly, like creating stuff for like other women, honestly, like brings me joy, because it's like, dang, I can't even make something for myself.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Glamourlyss. That is amazing. Talk about how it started and what you're doing.
Yes. So funny how it started. So when my husband was going into his second year, so we were going through training camp and preseason, my sister's boyfriend actually was playing for Green Bay at the time. And so, but they played in Green Bay the last game of preseason. So my husband, born and raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin, he grew up going to Lambeau Field, like that whole circle back was me and my sister, because she actually lived with us just for a little bit. right before she made the move to Green Bay. And I was like, let's make jackets. Like, let's make matching jackets or matching something that we can we're going to both go to the game together. So I ended up going to Michael's, buying a freaking Cricut, and from there it's taken off. We made jackets. We sat there and hand blinged like both of our jackets. We went to the game. We wore everything, whatever. And I remember posting it, just like how it all came about, like making jackets. And then that's when people were like, "Oh, I want you to make me one. I want you to make me one." So I was like, "Okay, like cool." And I started it, and it took off. Nice. And it was just a hobby at first. Like, it was just, I was still in Kansas City at the time. So for me, like, I still had all of the girls in Kansas City who, like, I made stuff for. And so, like, that was fun because even though, like, my husband was in Seattle and I was there, like, I remember that was the year the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl. And I remember girls being over at my house. I was making them, getting stuff out. Like, that was fun because it was, I have nothing. I literally, we didn't have our son at the time. So it's like, I had nothing better else to do. Like, I need to keep, So I was founded in 2018 or 2019. Yeah, 2018 because I was 2019. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So she was founded in 2019, made her an LLC, everything of that nature. And it has been so surreal because since I have started the business, she Glamourlyss. So it's Glamourlyss because my name's Alyssa. So it's like Liss for short. I have been to every Super Bowl, or at least I've had an item in every Super Bowl. I recently I had my stuff. Thank you. Had my stuff at the World Series this past year, and then I recently was in international in the London games this past year. I've dipped into MLB. Thank you. NHL, MLS, NBA, and NFL, and of course, USFL, XFL, and in college as well.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome.
Let everyone know, because you literally covered every sport. So you need to let everyone know if they want to get something made, where do they find you?
Yeah, so I'm primarily on Instagram. So it's at Glamourlyss Design. Ideally, what works best for me is I've created a website so you can find like standard designs where like that's pretty much like the most popular items that are selling or designs that like I've made consistently is the website. And then I have a custom order form on the website too, where it's if you see something that's not listed, like a bling jacket, right? Like that just takes more time and labor, and those details are a little bit different. So the custom order form allows you to submit kind of something that you're looking for, submit any inspo, upload any images that can be tailored to you because it's about you.
And that website is?
Yes, so it's www.glamourlissdesign.com.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure y'all check her out.
Okay, so before you leave, we always play this game called the 2-minute drill.
Okay.
We're going to start with some questions. There'll be this or that, or it'll be like fill in the blank. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, Tia, you ready?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Creating and designing or event planning?
Event planning, because that's where my passion is.
Okay.
Where do you go when you need to slow down?
My office. Well, actually, no, because I make myself more busy here. The nail salon. Because I'm
the nail
salon. What was your last Google search?
Sephora.
Best product you've ever designed?
This past year's Super Bowl jacket for Miss Rachel West.
Oh yes! Shout out to Rachel.
Yes, she is. She came with me fully designed. She made it on Canva, I'm pretty sure, and said, "Make this.
Make this.
Make this. I want it blinged out." And that is just.
She was at our live podcast at Super Bowl, and she killed it. Then she's very stylish. So I'm sure you guys had fun together. We gotta make sure you're there. In Vegas.
Yes, have me. I would love it. And I literally like hand delivered that jacket to Rachel, and to see her, like Rachel was like, I'm going to cry. And like her husband was there too when I dropped it off to them in Arizona. And they were like, Alyssa, like this goes hard. And like that,
killed it.
it was just like
No, you killed
the fulfillment. That jacket is,
You killed it.
Yeah.
it
I didn't know you
needs
made
to be
it,
in the
but
Hall
that
of
jacket was
Fame.
dope.
Yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that jacket was dope.
Thank you.
So what time of day are you most productive?
At night. I work best, I think, when my son's asleep and I'm in here and I don't have really any distractions. It's either I'm finishing up on some work stuff or I'm doing small business stuff or just like browsing, like just doing something or paying bills, like something that I just allow my time. I need to sit down and it's just, again, this is like my safe haven. Like this is my space.
Tell us the hardest part of motherhood. What's the hardest aspect?
It's balance. I am kind of currently feel like I'm going through that funk of I haven't worked out since I've had him and I was an athlete my entire life. You know, I don't allow that time for me. I'm feeling it in my body. Like I look good outside, right? Like when you look at, I feel good outside, but like internally, like my stomach or just, you know, those things. Like I birthed a child. I am so thankful. I'm so thankful, but I don't allow the time for me anymore. And I feel that. And I need to do that. Like I work full time and I run a small business and I'm thankful, but I need to like tell myself and truly understand and realize that like I've got to just those 30, 45 minutes. I have a Peloton that stares at me every day. It's in my room and I don't get on it. And it's just allowing that time for me, allowing just that time for me because I was talking to my girlfriend the other day. And self-care, because my girlfriend made a great point the other day. She was like, it's hard, but I need to take care of me in order to be in my baby's lives as long as I can. And that was like, that is so true. That is so true.
Yeah. Okay, when was the last time you actually asked for help?
This morning. And that's
good.
Oh, good.
This normally never. This morning from my husband, just to kind of get the setup situated. I was running around, thought we had something, and I
understand. I'm not tech savvy either, girl.
Yeah, this morning, but
you know your role.
Yes, but normally it takes a lot for me to ask for help because I'm so just driven to I want to do it myself. And I think that's a downfall. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. But this morning, so today, less than 24 hours ago.
Well, listen, last question. What are you looking forward to next?
Opportunities, I feel like in my career, on my full-time side of things, is the opportunities to expand, to be put in situations because outside of event planning, I also oversee our NFL and pre-draft program. So, these operations that are take so much time and effort, but putting myself in a situation where I can expand, I can be more than just who I am inside the four walls of our building, and whether that means traveling more for work or just really putting myself as a female in sport on a ladder, because I feel like there are a lot of women who would love to be in a situation where I am, and I'm thankful for that, especially in a male dominant field.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on, Alyssa. So awesome. You are a force to be reckoned with. All of the things that you're doing while maintaining your family is so beautiful. And I'm going to have to talk to you because we're going to get some outfits together. Okay, we'll talk about that later, though. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for joining us, Alyssa.
You know what? I really enjoyed Alyssa's conversation. I love the fact that, and all that she's done in such a short period of time, she made impact in each area, whether it was in sports, working in events and planning, or, getting her girlfriends together and creating these amazing outfits that women can feel dope in. So I really enjoyed her sharing that, as well as her journey that hasn't been easy in the NFL, but she's making the best of it.
Yeah, we have to. We'll have to drop a picture of Rachel's jacket. You know how they do it in a little video, just drop it in there from Super Bowl. But no, she was dope. I actually wish we had kept recording that post-interview conversation, because I think a lot of women can relate to what she's experiencing. Granted, she's young. Yeah. She just got into mommyhood, still a new wife and things of that nature. And so I think those are the moments and discussions and stuff that make us closer. And allow people to help and support you more through those different phases. So thanks again for joining us, Alyssa. You are amazing.
Yes, we loved you. All right, y'all. That's our show for the latest on the Inside Lines podcast. Make sure to follow us at Inside Lines Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
Be sure to check us out online at insidelinespodcast.com and leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/insidelines.
Until next time, leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.